Have you noticed unexplained tension in your home? Sleepless nights, arguments that erupt from nowhere, your children having nightmares? What if I told you the religious image hanging in your bedroom, the very one you thought was protecting you, might actually be the source? Padre Pio, the stigmatic saint who battled demons for 50 years, made a shocking revelation that the Church doesn't want you to forget. The enemy has found a new door into Christian homes, and it's through counterfeit sacred images. In the next 10 minutes, I'll reveal the 3 signs that the religious images in your home might be spiritual counterfeits that invite darkness instead of light. Thousands of families have already discovered this truth, and their testimonies will leave you speechless. This is not about superstition. This is about spiritual warfare at its most cunning level. The spiritual battle for our souls has evolved. Demons no longer announce their presence with obvious signs. As Padre Pio warned during his last years, the enemy has become subtle. He no longer needs to destroy sacred images when he can corrupt them from within. What most Catholics don't realize is that Padre Pio possessed an extraordinary gift. He could sense spiritual contamination in objects. His fellow friars documented numerous instances where he refused to bless seemingly beautiful religious items brought by pilgrims. "Take this away," he would command, sometimes without even touching the object. "This does not honor her. This invites darkness." One particularly disturbing account comes from 1965, when a woman from Naples brought a modern artistic rendering of the Virgin Mary for Padre Pio's blessing. Witnesses report that the saint not only refused to bless it, but became visibly distressed. "The eyes are wrong," he said. "Those are not her eyes. Something else looks through them." The woman later discovered the artist who created the image was involved in occult practices, deliberately incorporating subtle symbols into religious art sold to unsuspecting believers. This wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout his ministry, Padre Pio warned that spiritual contamination works like radiation, invisible to the naked eye, but devastating in its effects over time. Think about it. How carefully did you select the religious images in your home? Most people today purchase religious items based on aesthetic appeal alone. Online marketplaces and homeware stores sell countless Catholic decorations produced by manufacturers with no connection to faith. Some are even created in factories that simultaneously produce items for occult practices. Dr. Alessandro Meluzzi, psychiatrist and Catholic theologian, has documented over 300 cases of families experiencing unexplainable spiritual disturbances traced back to contaminated religious objects. The pattern is always the same. Introduction of a new religious image or object into the home, gradual deterioration of family peace, sleep quality, and prayer life, increasing feelings of heaviness, anxiety, or oppression. Children becoming particularly affected, with nightmares or behavioral changes, the most alarming part. Most families never make the connection. They blame stress, work pressure, or normal family dynamics, while the spiritual interference continues to grow. The enemy's greatest triumph, Padre Pio often said, is to work in plain sight while convincing you he isn't there. So how did Padre Pio, a simple friar with limited education, develop such acute spiritual sensitivity? The answer reveals why his warnings about sacred images deserve our immediate attention. Few people know that Padre Pio engaged in spiritual combat with demonic forces almost nightly for 50 years. These weren't metaphorical battles, but physical confrontations that often left him bruised and exhausted. Fellow friars reported hearing disturbing sounds from his cell, crashes, shouts, and sometimes the saint's voice commanding, "Vade retro, Satana." Through this lifelong spiritual warfare, Padre Pio developed what he called spiritual sight, the ability to perceive the invisible battle happening around us. This gift, allowed him to identify three specific categories of dangerous religious imagery that most Catholics remain completely unaware of. The emptied sacred, images that maintain religious appearance but have been stripped of spiritual integrity through their creation process. The subtly corrupted, images that incorporate hidden symbols or distortions that subconsciously disrupt prayer and spiritual connection. The energetically compromised, objects that have been handled or created by individuals connected to practices opposed to Christian faith. But here's what's truly fascinating and what makes Padre Pio's insights so valuable. He didn't just identify the problem. He provided specific, practical methods to detect these spiritual counterfeits. The saint taught that authentic sacred images produce four measurable effects in a properly disposed soul. A natural drawing toward prayer, when in their presence, a sense of peace and spiritual focus. Resilience against distraction during devotion, a subtle but perceptible strengthening of faith. Counterfeit images, regardless of how beautiful they appear, create the opposite effects. Restlessness, difficulty praying, increased distraction, and a gradual weakening of conviction. Sister Josephine Carbone, who worked closely with Padre Pio during his final years, recorded his teachings on sacred objects. She revealed something the saint insisted was crucial. The problem isn't just what the image portrays visually, it's the spiritual imprint it carries. This spiritual imprint is affected by the spiritual state of the artist who created it, the intention behind its creation, the environment in which it was produced, whether it has been properly blessed by a priest. These factors, invisible to the naked eye, determine whether an image serves as a channel of grace or an entry point for spiritual interference. Elizabeth Connor, a mother of 3 from Boston, experienced this reality firsthand. After purchasing a uniquely styled image of the Virgin Mary from an online home decor store, her family began experiencing unusual disturbances. My youngest started having terrible nightmares about a lady who wasn't really a lady, Elizabeth recalls. My husband and I began arguing constantly over trivial matters. I developed insomnia so severe I couldn't function. Most disturbing to Elizabeth was her growing aversion to prayer. I'd always found peace in my rosary, but suddenly I couldn't focus. My mind would fill with strange, disturbing thoughts whenever I tried to pray. 3 months of this escalating distress led Elizabeth to consult her parish priest, who asked about any recent changes in their home. When she mentioned the new Marian image, he requested to see it. His reaction was immediate, Elizabeth says. He pointed out subtle distortions I'd never noticed, the positioning of the hands forming an occult symbol, the eyes lacking spiritual depth, and most disturbing tiny serpentine figures disguised in the decorative border. The image was properly disposed of through a blessing ritual, and the family home was blessed with holy water and prayers. Within days, the atmosphere transformed, the nightmares stopped, the tension dissolved, prayer became natural again. I would have never believed an object could affect us so deeply, Elizabeth confesses, but the difference once it was removed was undeniable. Elizabeth's experience is not unique. Father Robert Clement, exorcist for the Diocese of Portland, reports that approximately 20% of the cases referred to him involve spiritual disturbances connected to religious objects with questionable origins. People are surprised when I ask to inspect their religious items, Father Clement explains. But in my experience, the entry point for spiritual oppression is often something the family believes is protecting them. Fortunately, Padre Pio didn't just warn about these dangers. He provided a comprehensive system for protecting your home and family. This system, preserved through his spiritual children and recently compiled from his letters and recorded conversations, involves 4 essential steps. Padre Pio advised a careful examination of every religious item in your home. For each image, especially of the Virgin Mary, ask yourself, Where did this come from? Who created it? Was it blessed by a priest? How do I feel when praying before it? Does it conform to traditional Catholic artistic standards? The saint emphasized that authentic images of Mary always reflect her biblical qualities: humility, purity, and maternal tenderness. They never incorporate sensuality, vanity, or ambiguous symbolism. For items that raise concerns, Padre Pio recommended a simple but powerful test. Place the object in your primary prayer space for 3 days. Before it, recite the prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel and 1 decade of the Rosary daily. Pay careful attention to your ability to concentrate during these prayers. Any unusual thoughts, emotions, or physical sensations that arise. The quality of sleep and family harmony during this period. The sacred will enhance prayer, Padre Pio taught. The counterfeit will resist it. For images that pass this spiritual discernment, Padre Pio recommended a formal consecration ritual, a beautiful practice mostly forgotten in modern Catholicism. This involves having the item properly blessed by a priest, sprinkling it with holy water, reciting a prayer of consecration that dedicates the image to its authentic spiritual purpose. For items that need to be removed, the saint provided specific guidelines for respectful disposal and replacement with traditionally rendered, properly blessed images from reliable sources. Most importantly, Padre Pio emphasized that spiritual protection is not a one-time event, but a consistent practice. He taught that homes should be regularly blessed and that the family rosary provides ongoing spiritual shielding. Where the rosary is prayed daily, he often said, the enemy cannot establish a foothold. His recommended prayer of protection, rarely shared but extraordinarily powerful, has helped countless families restore spiritual peace. Most Holy Virgin Mother of Light, I invite your true presence into my home. If anything here dishonors you or your son, reveal it to my heart. Purify this dwelling with your maternal protection. Seal each room, each object, and each person within these walls under the mantle of your immaculate heart. Where darkness has sought entry, bring the light of Christ. Amen. This warning from Padre Pio is more urgent today than ever before. In our digital age, when sacred images are mass-produced without spiritual understanding, the risk of bringing counterfeit spirituality into our homes has never been higher. Dr. Francesco Napolitano, who has studied Padre Pio's teachings on spiritual warfare for over 20 years, puts it bluntly: most Catholics today have at least one spiritually problematic object in their homes without realizing it. The consequences aren't always dramatic. Often there are subtle erosions of peace, prayer, and spiritual vitality that go unrecognized until they've caused significant damage. If this message resonates with your spirit, I invite you to take 3 immediate actions. Comment, "Protect my home, Padre Pio," below to help this crucial warning reach others who may be unknowingly affected. Like and subscribe and share this video with at least one family whose spiritual well-being matters to you. Remember Padre Pio's powerful assurance: the enemy can only maintain influence where he remains undetected. Once exposed to the light of awareness and prayer, his power dissolves like darkness at dawn. Your home should be a sanctuary of peace and spiritual growth. With Padre Pio's guidance, you can ensure that every sacred image within your walls truly honors heaven and protects your family. May God bless you, and may the authentic Virgin Mary keep you under her mantle of protection.